Hello, this is Andrew Thake from Mines and Money, and joining me today I have Mark Child, Chairman and CEO of Condor Gold. Great to go and meet you again, Mark. I think first up, perhaps you can go and tell us a little bit about Condor Gold for some of our viewers who aren't aware as to who Condor Gold are.
Yeah, certainly. Well, Condor Gold's listed on the AIM market and on the TSX, on the main board of the Toronto Stock Exchange. We have 2.4 million ounces of gold in Nicaragua. Half of that is in the higher indicated category and half is inferred. And of the 2.4 million, half is roughly open pittable and half is underground. And what we've focused on is getting permits. So we've permitted, of the open pit, we've permitted about 90% of it. So that's 1.12 million ounces of gold that's permitted for extraction. And by permits, I mean the permits to construct and operate the mine. Mm-hmm. And we have all those permits. And that took a while, as permits do. We've also bought a mill earlier this year, and we're gradually de-risking the project. We're clearing site at the moment. We aim to have about 100,000 ounces of gold production per annum as the stage one, and then to materially expand that up to 150, 180,000 ounces with a stage two lift. So in summary, that's what we've got. We also believe we're on a major district of 5 million plus ounces. And so we want to show the path to that from our existing 2.4 million ounces of gold.
So can you just tell us a little bit about your management team?
Yeah, certainly. Well, I'm ably I've been with the company for 10 years now, full time, and taken it from nothing to what it is today. So no ounces to the 2.4, got all the permits, got the reserves, bought the mill, and so I spend normally about 20% of my time in Nicaragua. I'm supported by 4 able non-exec directors, very seasoned, and the directors importantly have 20% of the company, or 22%, Jim Allen and myself in particular. So we've got a lot of skin in the game to make this work. Ian Stalker's a veteran who's built 5 gold mines. Andrew Cheadle, you'll know from head of PDAC and with Goldcorp for several years, exploration jobs, and Kate Harcourt is our chartered environmentalist on board. So we've got a great board. Operationally, we have a former mine superintendent at the nearby El Limon mine as our general manager in country, seasoned operator there, and Nicaraguan, and that's really helped us over the last. He's been with us almost 4 years. We have Luke English, who worked with me previously for 6 years and then went away for 4 years, has come back and running the geology department. And we've got 4 rigs turning at the moment, but there's Luke's English and PhD from Cambridge in Earth Science, and very experienced. He's had 15 years operating in Nicaragua with me, actually, most of that time. And my chief technical officer is an ex-Newmont study director, Dave Crawford, who led the PFS 6 years ago, 65 now, just about to go down to Nicaragua at the weekend, fully engaged with the company. And we built the local team of architects, civil engineers, hydrologists, environmentalists, social team. We have 81 people on the payroll to take the project to the next level. So we've built the team.
In answer to your previous question, you mentioned about your environmental expertise. And one thing that sort of strikes me about Condor Gold, you were probably doing ESG before people started to talk about ESG. Can you just give us our listeners a little bit of an idea as to what you do within that field?
Yeah, certainly. Well, it's very important. Landia Project's a former mine that closed in 1956. So it's a classic mine that closed, did nothing. The community there then had no jobs. And so there's 40% poverty up there. But they want a mine. They want to return Mina Landia back to its glory days when everyone had decent salaries and so on. So there is an artisanal mining community there, and there's a local community that understands mining, but we are close to a community. We're not in the middle of nowhere. So the community is a key stakeholder, and we've done a lot of stakeholder mapping, and we have everything up to the IFC performance standards for pre-construction, for the environmental side and the social side. We have a dozen people or so in our social team at the moment, and we have many different engagement groups with the community. So we have designed engagement groups with youth committees, with elderly committees. There's 6 different engagement groups, and that pushes, and we hire people in the community. We pay them a small remuneration of $100 a month, and say the elderly committee get involved. We have 6 leaders from the community who are elders, who people listen to, and they remember the mine. So that's the idea. And then we give them money to distribute locally. So we're we're not asking outside consultants what to do. We're asking the community, what do they want? And that's actually really quite important. I had 4 years in the British Army with the Gurkhas, and we do a huge amount of engagement up in Nepal, which is why every time the British Army wants to take on, has got space for 400 or 500 recruits every year, you get 10,000 people applying from the hills, because we're doing, and I was young, when I was 22, I was doing social welfare up in the Himalayas for 6 months and water projects. And we're doing that now. So we just commissioned 3 weeks ago a drinking water project for $200,000. No one's done that in the community. It does 2 liters of portable drinking water a second. We've imported it from Israel, and the community is delighted. So it's really important to identify what they have, and we have stakeholder engagement with the Catholic Church. With a lot, it's really very big. And on our website, we voluntarily put on every quarter an ESG update, which people can look at. And that's 40 to 50 pages. We don't have to put it up there, but we want to lead the way on this in the country.
Another thing you mentioned as well is that typically you spend 20% of your time out in Nicaragua. I'd imagine that in the last year, with obviously COVID-19, that must have been quite tough. How did you, I guess, how did Condor Gold deal with COVID-19, and how did you sort of manage to maintain contact with people on the ground in Nicaragua, when I imagine that for most of last year, it was a bit of a problem to go and travel there?
Yes, I've actually just had my 8th day test and release today in the UK. So I came back 8 days ago, so last week, and I had 2 weeks in Nicaragua, for example. Then I was in Miami for work, because of the same time zone. Worked there for 4 weeks, but around Easter I was there for another 2 weeks. So yes, I'm on to Nicaragua every single day, either by Skype, Zoom, whatever. WhatsApp. So you manage that. In terms of during the period, because we're in the countryside, 2.5 hours from the capital, not in it's all what we do. A lot of the stuff is outdoors, so that's a plus. We've actually even funded hand gel clinics locally in the community. At one stage, and it's now eased off, we had people working from home and coming into the camp twice, so where people could work from home on studies. And we're still at the study stage, if you like, for many of what we're doing. It's FS level studies, and we've got drill rigs turning. So we have a lot, because we're 12 degrees north of the equator, we put a lot outside, and a lot of roofing and fans, and even the air conditioning. We've stopped the air conditioning and actually had windows open and fans on. It's a beautiful climate at the moment. We're just hitting the rainy season. But it only rains up there in the afternoons. We're in a dry corridor. There's about 1 meter of rain a year at the project. So we've managed that, we have tests. Anybody coming in from overseas, we make sure they're tested in Managua before they go to site. But thankfully, as we all know, many of us weren't really using the Zooms and the Teams and everything that you can do 18 months ago, and we've all become experts in them. And that also works down to the company level.
Another question I wanted to ask you.
It hasn't had a negative impact on us, actually.
Okay, which is sort of like good to hear. Another question I wanted to ask you as well is, Nicaragua, what is it like as a mining investment destination? Because I'd imagine there's many people that might consider investing in Condor Gold but haven't been to Nicaragua and might have a certain preconception as to what Nicaragua is like.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's not like just looking due south to parts of Africa in the same time zone. You're minus 7 hours from here, and dare I say, it was a former British colony. Half the country, the Kingdom of Mosquito, was actually under the British, and the other half of the country was on the Spanish. But it's got a good mining law in that you can own 100%. So that's great for your project economics. Many parts of Africa, there's a free carried interest to the government, which the company has to fund. So we don't have that. There's not 20 or 30%. There's no black empowerment, forced ownership. You get your concessions for 25 years. So, which is both exploration and extraction permits, exploitation permits. Now, many mining jurisdictions give you exploration only, and then if they feel like it, they can let you have a permit to extract. So we get that. As I said, I first went 15 years ago. So we had a mining fair, for example, in the capital, which I arrived on Saturday about 3 Saturdays ago, which the Chamber of Mines put on and had just to showcase the industry. So, and again, the ministers were there were talks by the ministers, it was really popular. Gold last year was the #1 export, sorry, for the country. So it's getting a lot of attention when tourism is falling down rapidly because no one can go to Nicaragua, or very just fallen off the cliff when other things haven't gone well. The mining is the government is now permitting everything. So you saw Mako Mining has just commissioned a new mine in the country as they're having their first gold pour roundabout now, or just recently. Calibre Mining is extracting gold. They've managed to successfully permit satellite pits for their hub and spoke project, the Pavol project. They're trucking 1,000 tons a day from near Osterman to the other mine. So the government is really very supportive. And I went in, for example, to go and see the minister. So you can get in to see ministers one-on-one. I've met him several times now, and his predecessor. Let me go in there so bloody long. But we've got good relationships. So so in that sense, they're welcoming foreign investment. They haven't changed the mining law, touch wood, in the last 15 years. And they're permitting everything. So we're in the right address.
So it's all looking very, very positive. So what opportunities do you see for the next 12 months, and how's Condor Gold uniquely positioned to take advantage of them?
The next 12 months, we're rapidly moving towards a construction decision because we bought the mill. That's now being imported into the country. We paid $6.5 million in March. We've now paid 90% of that. So we issued $3 million of shares at 50p. So it's like premium to today's gold price, to First Majestic Silver. So that's a massive vote of confidence. So we've got the long lead item that cuts 12 months off our lead time. The main mill is 24 foot in diameter, and it can crush between 2,300 and 2,850 tons a day on our ore. So we bring that into the country. It's coming in now as we speak. We've signed contracts on warehouses last week, and that'll come up to site eventually. We're doing the site clearance and site preparation. We're doing all studies to a bankable feasibility study level. So we're getting that already. We've actually awarded contracts to the processing plant, to a FS level engineering design. We'll appoint over the next 12 months an EPCM contractor to de-risk the project. So someone who builds, has built 40 gold mines. And I've met 2 of them in Arizona, which is when in between my trips to Nicaragua, one of these United States, go to Arizona to meet one of the main engineering firms. That's what they do for a living. They do the detailed engineering designs, procurement, construction, and management, and that de-risks it for people. So right, well, that's the contract. We pay them 10 to 15% for doing that, and they will give us a timeline. So we've actually engaged the engineering firm to do the FS level designs on the processing plant, and they'll be in a pole position to actually do the EPCM contract. So I see that being awarded. I see us adding more ounces because we've got drilling on Cacao, which is going really well. We announced we've completed 3,000 meters out of 5,000, 3.5 out of 5. We announced this week 8,000 meters on Mestiza high grade pit. That's 120,000 at 8 grams. We've announced today geotechnical drilling, 1,700 meters of geotech on the main reserve, the main permitted pit, which is 900,000 ounces of resource, but the reserve 675, and that was done at 1,250 gold. So people in FS studies now are using 1,550 gold, so using a $300 higher gold price. That changes your economics. It could, if the geotech to FS level comes back positively, it pushes the pit deeper on maybe the pit angles we hope improve or get confirmed. But even if they don't improve, higher gold price, it'll push the pit deeper, and we have 300, 400,000 ounces underneath the pit. So that's a positive for us to do. We're showing a really clear path. So there's lots going on at the moment with us.
You've talked quite a bit about how you've de-risked the project. Are there any key risks and challenges that you still currently face? I mean, for example, what risk do you have if suddenly there's like a fall in the price of sort of gold, or are your all-in sustainable costs quite low?
Our all-in sustaining costs in the pre-feasibility study are 690 gold, $690 an ounce.
Okay.
And that's one of the lowest you'll see out there. We'd be delighted gold just sits where it is, to be honest, because even if our AISC goes up slightly to say 750 or 800, and it's 1,800, you're making $1,000 an ounce pre-capex, but after sustaining capital costs on 100,000 ounces of gold a year. So it's highly economic. So it's a big standout for us. So yeah, I see that as a positive.
I often get laughed at when I ask gold miners this, because they always say, it's going to go up, Andrew. Why did you ask me this question? But having just said that, where do you think the price of gold is going to go for the remainder of 2021, Mark?
There's a bit of resistance in at the moment, as people can see, around the sort of 1950 level. It seems to me to be forming a base. I think the ETF selling seems to have been broadly stopped or very much reduced. We've got central bank continue to be buying, particularly Russia. I think gold is very well underpinned here. I'd expect it to test its highs this year. So I think we'll go back above 2000. I'm not going to be super bullish and say to you it's 2,500, but all the numbers there, the experts who are looking at this tend to be fairly positive from an inflationary perspective and a hedge against that. And we just have to remind ourselves that, you know, with Turkey 10 years ago, the Turkish lira was to the dollar was 1.5. Turkish lira to a dollar is now 8.5. So if you're a Turkish businessman, as I said recently, someone, and you decided to put your money into gold, you've now made 5 times your money. And then you bring it back into Turkish lira and buy a building, and you're the king. You haven't just lost 4 to 5 times your purchasing power. So it's the best example that we got in Europe, or next to Europe, of what can happen with, and it's a store of value. So I think that, you know, that'll remain the case.
And I guess this is one sort of like closing question. There's a lot of gold mining companies out there, but there's lots of very, very attractive gold mining investment opportunities. If you were to say what really sets Condor Gold apart from your peers, what would it be?
I would say we're fully permitted to construct and operate in the mine. That takes a long time and is incredibly valuable. There are many projects out there that have got big resources that will never get a permit, and you can look at those from South America to Canada and Africa. So that's important. We've got the mill that's coming in. We're getting a clear timeline to construction. We got low all-in sustaining cash costs of, say, $700 an ounce, lower quartile. That makes it the economics extremely attractive. We're valued about 2% of the gold price, $35, $36 an ounce in the ground. That sets it out. And we're on a major 5 million ounce district play, which we doubled the land package over the last 3 years. So those are the key things.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mark. That was Mark Child, Chairman and CEO of Condor Gold, with Andrew Thake from Mines and Money. Thank you very much.